we're looking at a more organized operation. And I don't know if Kelly and Mattis are in on it. I don't know if they're, quote, isolating the president to, quote, protect him from a coup. He seems to trust him, and he's got good instincts. Or whether they're playing a double game. You watch it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us as we broadcast worldwide. Already Thursday, the third day of August 2017. Milo Yiannopoulos is launching his new book that was already a #1 New York Times bestseller when they canceled it via political correctness a few months ago. He's suing the publisher, and he's reissued it himself, coming out today. Dangerous is the name of the book. It's available at InfoWarsStore.com. And, of course, many other places. He'll be in studio with us for 2 hours today. Then, I don't normally preempt folks that are hosting the fourth hour. Anthony Cumia is going to be hosting the fourth hour. I've invited him to ride shotgun with myself and Roger Stone. But I got some really important information from one of my White House sources yesterday afternoon. So I finally got a hold of Roger at about 11 o'clock at night, Central Time last night, and he had some very important conversations yesterday, very lengthy, important conversations. Now, I got off the phone at about 11:30 at night, and I got in bed with my tablet, my laptop, my iPad, whatever you want to call the stupid thing, and I began doing some final surfing, and guess what I saw pop up in the news feed? Establishment news, they force feed you when you fire up the iPad. Exactly what I had just been talking to Stone about and when I had been talking to my other source at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Kelly cracks down on West Wing back channels to Trump. Now, remember, when we give you these sources, information, we're not making it up. That's why we told you Trump would announce no expansion of the war, no plan to topple Assad. 3 days later, he said those exact words back in April. That's why we told you that Flynn would be out and that would be McMaster. Just like we told you last week, 4 days before it broke. Specifically that Priebus would be out by the end of the week and that General Kelly was in the front running to be chief of staff. And the reason this matters is there's a battle for the heart and soul of the Trump White House and the Trump presidency right now. And we, and by extension you, the listeners and viewers, who we're interfacing with are the American resistance to this. Now, this piece of news out of Politico, it broke last night, is just more confirmation of what our sources were telling us. But again, these sources are so high level, you couldn't get a better source of White House information. Now, that said, the media has gone from freaking out about those sources and giving us a lot of attention because they know we have those sources to total silence on it. Because they don't have the sources and the source we have. And they're upset about it. Now, the information I've got is so big that I don't even know how to properly break it all down. I was pretty tired at 11:30 when I climbed into bed. I'd been up since 6 a.m., but I couldn't go to sleep for about 3 hours after I had all this information. I got back out of bed, went down to the kitchen table, sat there and read news and wrote notes for 3 hours. Then I went to bed about 2:30 in the morning, ended up oversleeping. I never sleep till 9 in the morning. I slept till 9 this morning. And as soon as I got up, I just got in the shower, and I'm just still having the same conversation that I have with myself with you. I don't know what to do about this. And I'm not 100% sure what all this means, but in Roger's words, in his text message to me at 11 at night when he was finally ready to talk to me, or 10:30, was this is 7 days in May. Now, that's a Burt Lancaster movie where the Pentagon, a group of generals, decided to have a soft coup against the president. And then I got on the phone with him and basically was told the same information that I got from my sources, but his source was even more high level. And I'm just going to stop right there. 7 Days in May, 1964. Burt Lancaster, Kirk Douglas, powerful film. We ought to do a review of 7 Days in May. I think we've done one before, 5 or 6 years ago. But we're not watching a movie about a military coup. We are in it. What did Rush Limbaugh say last week? We played the clip. You can pull up the headline. Rush Limbaugh, headline, Democrats are contacting generals to plan a coup. That was the headline. Generals are being contacted by the Democrats in deep state to plot a coup. That's Rush Limbaugh. 20 million listeners a day. The mouth of the not completely traitorous Republican Party. Blue blood, elitist, but still free market, not out to destroy the country. And then you've got the neocon rhinos in bed with the Democrats. They're cancer. You've got Sean Hannity saying that word for word. There's a plan to overthrow the president. But forget Sean Hannity and Rush Limbaugh. You have Al Gore, you have Brennan, you have Clapper all on TV last week, days after a top evangelical pastor who met with the president for hours, met with senior members of Congress for hours, and they told him they're shopping a plan to overthrow the president and contacting former and current generals to help them carry it out. That's how you do it. They had the McCormick-Dickstein committee hearings back in the late 1930s about how Smedley Butler, Commandant of the Marine Corps, two-time Congressional Medal of Honor winner, was contacted by the Bushes, by Prescott Bush and Brown Brother Harriman and a Nazi group, and asked to overthrow Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And then they said no. And then they didn't punish the plotters because they thought it would bring the country down. It was so dangerous and so painful and so treacherous and stretched into some of the most powerful families in the country, including the Kennedys. Yes, the Kennedys early on were on the Nazi payroll. That is a fact. They were in bed with sex operatives. They were getting paid off. But back then, Hitler was seen as good in the mid-30s. Joseph Kennedy and the rest of it. They were seen as anti-communist. Time magazine, was saying Hitler's the greatest guy. The liberals loved him. He was for eugenics and sterilizing the minorities and a vegetarian and animal rights activist. I mean, he followed the whole template. But I digress. We're looking at a more organized operation. And I don't know if Kelly and Mattis are in on it. I don't know if they're, quote, isolating the president to, quote, protect him from a coup. He seems to trust him, and he's got good instincts. Or whether they're playing a double game. But they are isolating him and not letting anybody get info to him. I'm not going to name names here. And they're quoted in the news like he's some mentally ill, mentally retarded, cousin you keep in the attic or the basement. And about, yeah, he kind of goes with whatever. He put out that disinfo, Politico says, quoting the general. And Politico's such fake news. Who knows the general even said that? General Kelly, his chief of staff, that he was being spied on by Obama. He just got that. It was in the New York Times. They said they were spying on him. They have the intercepts now of the attorney general. They have the intercepts of his family. They were spying. They bragged they were spying. And you've got them saying, because, the president's dumb. He'll say any disinfo he gets told. Somebody told him. And somebody gave him a Breitbart article saying he was being spied on. And so now he's gone off half-cocked. Breitbart showed a screenshot like we did, days after we did, of the New York Times saying wiretaps picked it up. So see, remember all that? They were saying, oh, we're spying. Trump goes, that's illegal. They go, we never spied. You're crazy. It's only in hundreds of newspapers, and we only quoted it on CNN and Fox News, and we only had congressional hearings about it, and they're only using the intercepts now and leaking them everywhere, selectively edited. They're only leaking all his phone calls with world leaders right now. Oh, but they think you're so stupid. that they're saying he's crazy. But don't worry, General Kelly will make sure none of that information gets to Trump. And then McMaster, the head of the national security, he will fire anybody that talks about globalism to the president on his staff that writes papers about radical Islam and globalism being allied against America, which it is, and which Bannon has exposed. Well, guess what? It's now come out that McMaster will fire anybody that talks about it or is an anti-globalist. So what do you call this? I call it a mess. But you got a bunch of different factions, and these guys are acting just like Alexander Haig. Remember when Reagan got shot, Haig runs out and goes, I've got the codes, I'm in charge, I am now the president, I am the president. No, none of these generals ever got elected to office. They never did anything that Trump did. Trump's the maverick. We elected him. He's the president, not you.
What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying. Secure your DNA force today at InfoWarsLife.com.